Hello and welcome. I am Kaisra Osmond, an asset management professional with the Great Lakes Water Authority in Detroit, Michigan. Over the past year, I have been working with a great team to develop an organizational culture and workforce maturity assessment model, and excited to present to you the process we used to develop this great tool. Cello has often referred to it as the sausage making machine, and he is not far from the truth. It has taken a great many people in several workshops and a core team churning the data and information as it has been received to produce a great product. We hope that the time spent on this model will benefit utilities and agencies across the water sector to assess their level of maturity and bring about change in their organization. We will cover the following in the presentation today. First, I will provide an overview of the framework and how we developed the process. I will then show you how we analyzed and processed the inputs we received during our workshops, which is where you will truly appreciate Cello's sausage making reference. Following that, I will walk you through the survey we have developed to assess an organization's workforce and organizational culture maturity level. And finally, we will discuss what is unique about the tool we have developed. So how did we develop the framework? Our goal was to gather, manage, and interpret information from utility participants related to workshop and organizational culture, and then utilize that information to develop an assessment tool that is versatile and usable across a spectrum of water utilities. The first step was to establish two teams. One team would focus on the challenges and barriers organizations face in developing their workforce, and the second on an organizational culture that helps achieve its mission and vision. Both teams held multiple bi-weekly workshops to deliberate and gather the information. Each team established a core team to decipher the statements and information collected during the workshops and grouped them into similar categories. Once that was completed, both core teams were combined to review and collaborate on their findings and to build the assessment model. The workforce workshops were designed based on Daniel Pink's motivational elements of mastery, autonomy, purpose, and fairness and inclusion elements that impact results. In other words, what motivates the workforce to do their best in an organization. The organizational culture workshops were focused on Patrick Liccioni's key functional elements that directly impact results based on accountability, control and authority, value and purpose, and trust and collaboration, and results oriented in an organization. In other words, what are the key elements that impact organizational culture and makes the team functional or dysfunctional? We collected a wealth of information during these workshops. This was a ton of meat. So how did we make the sausage? Once we completed the workshops, the challenge was to take the 400 plus ideas, concepts, and statements that were generated and converge them into meaningful information to drive the assessment model. Each team reviewed the 200 plus statements it had collected and placed them into relevant categories, each with a level 5 maturity statement. This resulted in a total of 45 categories between the two. Both teams met to compare notes and found multiple overlapping categories with similar maturity statements and addressing similar barriers and challenges. it became obvious that it was prudent for us to combine all similar categories with the corresponding statements from both teams. The sausage machine had begun churning as we worked together and eventually reduced the category count to 20. Digging deeper into these 20 categories, we found several overlapping statements, and as we continued grinding the meat and recategorizing the statements, we ultimately ended up with 7 major overarching categories, which we used to develop a more robust and inclusive assessment tool. The final 7 categories included: number 1, organizational strategy and performance, focusing on an organization's goals and objectives and performance indicators. 2, organizational values, focused on established core values and an embedded culture to follow them. 3, responsibility and accountability, focusing on an organization's decision-making processes that are clearly tied to metrics and performance data. 4, employee engagement, encouraging employee participation and engagement in managing their work and training opportunities. 5, teamwork and collaboration, where the organization promotes team collaboration and decision-making. 6, reward and recognition, where employees are formally and informally rewarded for their good work. And finally, number 7, communication and feedback, where goals and objectives are clearly communicated and feedback encouraged. Once the categories and Level 5 maturity statements were defined, we moved on to developing a questionnaire that would help an organization assess its maturity level. The meat was now ready to become a sausage. While we reviewed surveys from platforms such as the Office of Personnel Management and the Society for Human Resource Management, we developed our own questions based on the feedback we received during the workshops. After extensive deliberations and keeping the survey to a reasonable size, we developed 22 Tier 1 questions. While these questions ascertained how the employees felt, they did not provide us insight into what the drivers were for the unfavorable responses. This led to the development of an additional 25 Tier 2 questions. The way the survey works, if the response to the Tier 1 question is in the positive, that is, if the responses agree or strongly agree, then the survey skips the Tier 2 question and moves to the next Tier 1 question. On the other hand, if the response to the Tier 1 question is in the negative, that is, disagree, strongly disagree, or don't know, then the survey moves to the Tier 2 questions, which are designed to be more exploratory. Here is a sample to demonstrate how the survey tool works. In the communication and feedback category, a Tier 1 statement states, "I am comfortable voicing my concerns and opinions to my management." If the responses disagree, strongly disagree, or don't know, the tool moves to the Tier 2 question. The Tier 2 question expands on the Tier 1 question and asks why the respondent is not comfortable voicing their concerns and opinions. In this example, it provides a list of possibilities and also an option of other in the event their issue is not listed. It should be noted that some questions have more than one Tier 2 question if a deeper dive is warranted. Now that the sausage has been made, what is great about it? This model is unique in several ways. To name a few, it focuses on primary challenges faced by water utilities and is developed by a cross-spectrum of agencies and water utilities in the United States and Canada. It has a versatile use for leadership and non-leadership workforce and can be used across the organization or in specific departments. It is a short survey that is not time-consuming and yet provides a deeper dive with Tier 2 questions in areas with unfavorable responses. And finally, it includes a glossary of terms for consistent understanding and interpretation of results. And with that, I will end my presentation. Alice Brawley-Cheswood will walk you through our next steps. I wish I was there to take any questions, but I will pass the baton to Chalo and Scott to do that on my behalf. However, please feel free to contact me if needed. Thank you for your time. Have a great day and enjoy the conference.